Timmy, I was just on the internet, and everyone's being real mean to us. They're saying that we spread misinformation and that we don't properly vet any of our experts or guests.
I know, I saw that. It was a little disheartening because I love all of our guests, and I think our guests are great.
Yeah, no. I had no idea that the Hufflepuff Post had these problems with us.
The Hufflepuff Post, man, has just been causing a lot of problems for a long time. So, I mean, what do you think? What do you think we should do?
Well, we need to have an expert on our show to show everyone that we can get an expert.
I actually think I know the right person.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you know what they're an expert on?
They're an expert on everything. It's incredible. I met her at this event one time at the aquarium, and she knew everything about all of the reptilian creatures in this exhibit. Let me give her a call. I bet you she'd be willing to come on.
Yeah. No, that sounds exactly like what we need. Sounds legit.
Yeah.
Person you met at an aquarium knew everything about lizards.
Yeah.
All right.
Like she was correcting the person who was giving the presentation.
Always a sign of expertise. Always a sign of expertise to interrupt someone who's talking during their job. All right.
I'm calling her right now.
Ha! And people say we don't vet these experts. Hello, my freaky sneeches, and welcome back to Total Nuisance with Joe Newsense. Of course, I'm Joe Newsense, and he's sitting here with my good compadre, my amigo, Timmy Decibel. How you doing today, Timmy?
I'm doing well, muchacho. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I don't know what muchacho means, but I'm doing all right.
I think it's like a macho kind of man, like macho, muchacho.
I don't know if language works that way, but
I don't
maybe.
think. Yeah, it might not. But I also kind of got a little bit of a headache today, which is why I'm drinking my tea here.
Ah, yes, of course. Now, today we have, of course, we like to dabble in the realm of experts, and we didn't know what we wanted to have an expert on specifically. So we figured we would get an expert who had a lot of different knowledge in a lot of different areas. Please welcome to the podcast, Gabi, up-and-comer? Newcomer? What was the last name? Gabi Upstart.
Upstart. There it is. Sorry about that.
My producer always says it's good to have notes, and occasionally I have to listen to him.
Hi.
Hello, Gabi. Welcome to the show.
Do I put these on?
Yeah, you can put those on.
Okay, like on, like that?
Yeah, no, they're great for when you want to hear the soothing tones of your own voice.
Well, yeah, of all the things I'm known for, I'm probably known most for talking a lot.
Okay, well, you're in the right company. This is a podcast. It's all about talking a lot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now we are under the understanding that you're an expert in a wide variety of different areas. Is that right?
Well, I like to think so.
Very modest. All right.
Very modest. Absolutely.
What's a favorite area of expertise that you have?
Oh, I like animals, and I like antiques, and I like language, and entertaining, and I like different kinds of paper, and train cars, and electronics. I like a lot of things.
All right. Well, it sounds like we're covering the gambit here. Gambit?
That's a wide variety of interests. It's pretty cool. I thought you were going in alphabetical order there because you started off with animals and then went to antiques. So like in terms of like animals, what kind of animals are you into?
Well, I have a pet beagle, a dog, a beagle dog. And I like to talk a lot about axolotls, with my son. So that's like a kind of it's a salamander that they're really cute. I don't know if you've seen a picture of one, but they are like adorable.
I've
I'm
seen
really
them
interested in, yeah.
I've seen them in Minecraft. They're one of
That's
the
right.
animals
There's one in
Minecraft.
Minecraft. You're totally
Yeah.
right about that. And for little kids, that's a place to go and look at animals when you can't get out to the zoo. Um,
So what kind of animal did you say an axolotl is again?
It's a
Like
salamander.
salamander.
It's a aquatic lizard.
Yeah, doesn't salamander mean salami lizard? Is that accurate?
I have not heard that previously, but it's possible that could be.
I mean, I haven't heard it before either. I'm just trying to put words together.
Right. I guess from like a word origin perspective, it's possible that those two things came from the same Latin root.
Maybe just speculating.
At least salami is an Italian word. I mean, and it's like kind of long and skinny, just like lizards are. So could be.
Joe's got a couple of lizards.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, I have.
What kind of lizards you got?
Well, I have a few monitor lizards right now.
Oh my gosh, they're big.
Well, they're actually babies right now. Oh. So they haven't gotten too big.
And then it'll start out big.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we had my mom was allergic to like fur and feathers, so like fuzzy pets were not a possibility, and we had lizards. So she had an iguana at one point that got actually so large that it could no longer live in our house, and we ended up working with a guy who worked for the local zoo, who adopted it, and she lived for many years in the reptile habitat. Her name was Margarita, very appropriate name for a very green lizard. And I don't know if you've been watching the weather in Florida lately, but it's actually gotten so cold recently that iguanas have been falling out of trees. So somewhere around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, iguanas go into some sort of weird quasi hibernation, suspended animation kind of. I don't know the science behind this, but they go into a sleepy time deep enough for them to fall out of trees. And so they're telling people who are in the Florida area that they need to watch out to like not be hit in the head by falling iguanas. I'm not kidding. You may think this is a joke. This is totally real. People are being hit in the head by iguanas if they're not watching out.
I totally believe it.
An
iguana once fell on Timmy.
Yeah, this is why I don't like. This is why I don't like going around iguanas. I have just a debilitating fear about iguanas.
Oh, that's
He's okay
a very
with them
real
on the
fear.
ground, but he doesn't like the idea that an iguana might be above him.
Nope. No, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just another reason to stay out of Florida.
Like, as I understand, they don't usually eat people, but also, if somebody did get eaten, I mean, they wouldn't exactly be around telling us about it, right? So,
I don't
how do you really know?
I don't think it's so much the fear that they're going to eat him. I think it has more to do with the falling, from a distance, type of thing.
Yeah.
Like when they made that movie The Birds, and Tippi Hedren got
terrifying.
Just I can't watch that movie. I
Yeah,
can't.
no, but like you get a thing when things get thrown in your face a lot, it like weirds you out, and you get like a trauma.
Oh yeah.
So now he's got that trauma, but now it's for things falling directly on his head. It's why he also puts his hats on very slowly.
Oh. That's a real safety issue. That's really smart, Timmy. You're being really smart and careful. I like your safety angle.
I appreciate that. A lot of people think I have a weird phobia, but I'm just trying to be safe. So thank you.
I mean, like, it's not a phobia if it's happening, right? Like, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean everybody's not out to get you, right? So you got to watch out for those things in the head. You're not going to get a head injury.
Right.
That's for sure.
That's a good point.
Although, like, if I'm afraid, if I was claustrophobic, and I ended up in a small space, I feel like I'd still have a problem with it, even though it was happening.
100%. Yeah, 100%. But
So
I mean, in terms of like dangerous animals, I don't know. Have either of you ever ventured, down under to Australia? There are many. There are many interesting animals there. It's probably one of the most interesting places in the world to look at and talk about animals. I mean, the Galapagos Islands are a really, particularly interesting place to go to, just because of the way that those islands are separated from the rest of the world. They've had an opportunity to kind of grow or cradle or whatever, create conditions that are good for growing lots of different kinds of weird animals. Like the blue-footed booby lives there. There are a lot of weird looking crabs. And Australia has some kind of some similarities to that. I know the first time I ever was really fascinated with an animal that's kind of dangerous, maybe you don't know that it's dangerous, it was the platypus. Have you guys ever seen a platypus?
Well, I mean, you automatically can't trust them because there's so many animals at once. How can you trust them?
It is like God's grab bag of spare parts, that platypus.
The junk drawer of of nature.
Yeah.
It's like a supreme pizza, but also like sometimes venomous.
Wait, platypus? Is it platypuses or platypus?
That's a very good question, Timmy, and I will tell you the answer to that question. So a lot of people think that anything that ends in puss is pluralized pie, right? And that is sometimes true, except when you're talking about puss and it comes from a root that is referring to feet. So octopus, which talks about 8 feet, is pluralized octopuses. And platypus is I don't know what platy mean, but puss refers to feet, and the plural of that is platypuses. But there are lots of things that are like radius is pluralized radii. That's not talking about feet, so that's a Greek root.
Actually, I think I heard about this one a little bit because the word octopi is actually 2 different languages mashed together, right?
That's true. Like it's like taking a word and trying to treat it like you're trying to conjugate it or pluralize it or whatever, like it's a different language. And people do it all the time. It's not a big deal. But if you want to know what the correct thing is platypuses. But yes, your other question is, are they venomous? Yes, they are. I believe it's only the males. They have a barb on the back of their feet or flippers, whichever you want to call it.
Their puss.
Yeah, little pusses. They have a little venomous barb there. Some people theorize that it may be used in mating. That's not great for. That's not good, little platypuses. You should probably try to do better. But
so what we're saying is,
for their feet.
What I'm hearing is that there is some very literal toxic masculinity in the platypus community.
That's a keen observation.
But I think I had shared with you guys when we had talked about me coming on the show initially that at one point in my career, I always have a large handbag. I come with a lot of accessories, much like a Barbie doll. Sometimes I have a extra pair of shoes in there, and sometimes more than one extra pair of shoes. But one of the things that I was very committed to carrying in my purse with me was a book about platypuses, because when I would start talking about them, sometimes I would tell people things that were so weird that they literally did not believe me. They were like, you are making that up. And so if I had a book to show them, this was back when it meant more to have a hardcover book in your hands, right? Like nowadays, any of us could publish our own book about anything we want, using a service or even Amazon. We can publish, anything we want. But back then, it meant something to have a book. And so I had this book, and I would be like, no, really, see, it clearly says on page 14, for real, they are a mammal that lays eggs.
That's
but they're not
incredible.
like regular eggs. They're like little leathery snake eggs
Wait, are platypuses endangered species though? Because if they are, I don't think we should be messing with their eggs.
That's a fair point.
They were at one time, and I'm honestly, I'm really not sure. I'm more interested in them from a trivia standpoint.
Were they hunted or something, or was like their natural habitat going?
They were a subject of much interest when early European explorers were checking out their habitat, their area of habitat
down in Australia, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
because when they first brought them back to Britain, they were not believed. Also, they were accused of sewing together several different animals. I think a duck, a beaver. I don't know, there were several. They were accused of like doctoring it together. Like you could not possibly have caught this thing. You have made this thing of needle and thread. You have created.
It's this Frankenstein bird,
right? So and who could blame him? I mean,
yeah.
It's like you've just got one specimen, and it is the weirdest thing we have ever seen. It literally has, like I said, it has a bill that's similar. I don't know if there are people who listen to this podcast somewhere out there who like maybe haven't ever seen a platypus, but like let me run down the inventory of weirdness that we're talking about here. Okay, so we've got the duck bill, right? And then it has this like furry body that ends in a beaver tail. I mean, what looks like a beaver tail, a beaver tail doesn't look like any other kind of tail except a platypus. And then it has these kind of like flipper sort of feet on the front that are a lot like what you might see on a duck, but like sort of close to, I don't know, it's sort of like a mix between a duck and a fish. And then its back feet are completely different. They have these kind of little claw, like toe sorts of things that almost even look like what you might see on a grizzly bear. So you see that there's like flippers on the front, and this is not a very good picture. Is this real or is this art?
This might be art, actually. I just did a quick Google search for a platypus, and
I think this one is art.
Okay. Well, here's one. Okay, here's one in the wild that looks like.
That's a real guy. That's a real guy there.
Let me blow this one up here. Let me see if we can.
Don't blow him up. Like I said, we're not sure
if
they're
not literally blow him. I mean, like zoom in.
Oh, zoom in. Enhance.
Wow.
So you can see he's got those little grizzly bear claws on the back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you see a picture of their tummies? Are there any tummy shots in here?
Let me see here. I could kind of see it right there, a little bit underneath.
So, what do we know about mammals? What's the one thing there's that poisonous barb? That was that barb there. Go back one more. That's it. That's it. You can see venomous spur, the spur on the ankle of the male.
Wow.
It releases venom that causes intense pain. So they're not sure if that's for. I think they're not. I don't know. At the time I was reading, they weren't sure if that was for hunting or what. I will say.
Makes sense.
Trust the facts, you guys. You have to believe the things that Britannica tells you about platypuses, even though they seem absurd.
What I'm hearing is that platypuses, when they were first discovered, were like the original fake news.
Yes, they were the original fake news. And here are these poor scientists that are like, we found this. We wouldn't make this up. Why would you accuse this? Why would you accuse us of this? We've been bringing, good information. I have a real career. I'm a university professor, or whatever it is they're saying to justify their credentials. And they're like, no, I found this. I went on a research project and I found this. Yeah.
Platypuses.
So I'll give you another fact. What do we know about mammals? What do you got to do to be a mammal?
Gotta be hairy.
Warm-blooded.
Warm-blooded fur. What else?
Don't the females produce milk for their offspring?
That's right. You have to feed your babies milk that came out of you, right? But a platypus doesn't have a traditional chest structure like we would attribute to a mammal. That's what I will say. Okay. I don't know what the age group or maturity of people listening to this show are, but I will say that platypuses do not have a traditional architecture in their chest. What they have is a series of grooves, and they will lay on their back and they will secrete milk into these grooves, and then their babies will drink the milk out of the grooves.
So
like
it's sort of like it's like a bowl. Yeah, it sounds like a dog bowl, you know?
Yeah. So that's the system. That's how they
so so wait, so it sounds like platypus, they might be an alien life form.
Right.
Can't rule it out at this point. Can't rule it out.
You know, I believe that, so that the eggs were discovered later than the animals, right? So like they, you know, when they found them, they're like, what the heck is this? And I say discovered, by the way, and I shouldn't say that because that's very colonialistic. You know, we're talking about when European people, you know, came and explored them. I'm sure somebody had found them long before that.
It's like saying you discovered something that was already there. Like it.
So right. So this is like at the beginning of the 1800s, and like, you know, that those platypuses had, you know, been chilling in their aquatic places for long before that. So you know, somebody grabbed some and took them home, and then a lot of people thought they were a hoax. And then, but it wasn't until a couple of decades later that they finally, you know, figured out how they were reproducing, and they're like, oh, there are eggs. And so that began another wave of disbelief about, you know, the origin of this species. So that's how that went down. And there was a while there was a lot of like roundabout about whether this was going to be considered a mammal, which is kind of funny because, I mean, it meets almost all of the things. I think usually people think about mammals giving birth to live young, and so they don't actually do that, but all of the other, you know, all of the other requirements of being a mammal they meet. But yeah, there was quite a lot of controversy about like whether that was going to be considered a mammal, and I think it was like, it wasn't a whole 100 years later when they figured out that it was eggs, but it was a long time. It was like at least 75 years later. So
I mean, I can't think of any other category you could put it into, really.
It's not a fish, like, that's for sure. I don't know.
It's definitely a weird creature, and the more you're telling me about it, the more I'm convinced that they landed here on an asteroid from a different planet. Well, this is fascinating stuff. So, have you ventured into the Sasquatch animal kingdom?
So I don't know a lot about Sasquatch. What I do know about them is that there are kind of two schools of people who are Sasquatch truthers, right?
Okay.
And they exist like on the East Coast and on the West Coast, let's say. And I really want to apologize to any Sasquatch truthers out there in the audience, because I don't know enough about your culture to be talking about you, but I would tell you what I do know. I do know that these, love it. So are you part of the Enlightenment?
I don't like to take sides.
Oh, you don't like to take sides? Okay,
No.
okay.
Yeah.
Timmy and I are very open-minded on the existence of Bigfoot.
Yeah. So I was just I didn't want to interrupt you. I wanted to hear what you said. So
there are folks who are, you know, in the West Coast area, you know, and there are folks, you know, in the I mean, there are folks in everywhere. Okay. There are people in the Midwest too who are out looking for Yetis and abominable snowmen and whatever. But I have found that based on geography, like, folks from the West Coast think it's like absolutely absurd that anybody would think that somebody would find a Sasquatch in Ohio. Like, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. And I can sort of see some logic to that. Okay. Because, like, I don't know, like, let's be real. Their mountains just seem like they'd be better habitat. You know what I mean?
Well,
like it's not real mountainous here. Like, aren't these guys supposed to live in the mountains?
Well, I think that's also a common misconception about Ohio's geography. and topography, because a lot of people think that Ohio is just farmland, which is not the case.
Sure. Right. Comparatively, so I'm from a mountainous place. It is very flat here compared to where I'm from. So I'm from the Appalachian region. And part of Ohio is considered part of the Appalachian region, and it is at the Piedmont, like at the foot of the mountain. You know, it is the like lower elevation, and that's in like southeastern Ohio. I think there's something like 30 counties, a little bit more maybe, that are I can't believe how many counties there are in Ohio. There's like 200 counties. There's like more than 200 counties. It's like so many counties. Didn't know. Look that up.
Seems excessive.
So confused. I was like, how can there be so many? I only go to like 4 on a regular basis. Makes you realize how small your world is sometimes. But yeah, so there's like 30 Ohio counties that are considered part of Appalachia, and they're at the lower elevation of, you know, the mountain chain. And so the Appalachians, of course, are like older than the Rockies. So you can kind of think of it as like they've been worn down a little bit more. So like they're, you know, on average, they're like lower elevation, I think.
Which I think actually supports the existence of the Sasquatch living in the Appalachian Mountains, because they've just been there longer.
And they're longer.
A better habitat for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's denser, because that's really what the Sasquatch wants, is they just want to be away from people. Forest, and they want to be in a densely forested area so they're not seen.
It's all about that foliage.
It's really about the foliage. So anybody who says, I just think that's just a comment out of like just ignorance, you know, that people think that Sasquatch can't exist on the eastern half of the United States.
Did y'all watch that movie, that animated movie with Channing Tatum that was about the Yetis? It was called Smallfoot.
I have not seen that.
I have not seen
adorable. It's adorable. Okay. It's a musical. It's adorable. And it's about all these Yetis that live in their little Yeti village, and they don't believe in human beings. They think that it's a myth.
That's a nice little twist right there.
I know. Yeah. But they have a system of patterns that they do every day that is sort of it's sort of a critique of like doing things the same way and not thinking about it critically, because that's the way we've always done things, you know. And there's this great opening number that my child sings to me all the time. And where they're talking about like, you know, questions, like you have a question about something, but like stop having questions, please, because questions lead you astray. And they're singing and they're like, if you've got a question that's leading you astray, just push it down inside until it goes away. And so they've got these, you know, so they've got all these Yetis that are doing all these cool, fun things, and they like love each other and sing songs. And then they discover that like all of these habits that they have are really, you know, created for the purpose of like keeping them safe from people, because people are very dangerous. And it's kind of like a cool message. So sorry, I just ruined the ending for everyone, but it's kind of the journey that makes that movie good, not the knowledge that humans are dangerous. Because let's be real, you know.
Oh, I know humans are dangerous.
Oh yeah.
We've invented a variety of martial arts just to fight each other. Yeah. Then you got to take into account our effect on the landscape, our inability to figure out which things are poisonous for at least a 50-year period.
Right.
I mean,
75 years. We're like, we don't believe these platypuses are real, and like they've just got a little venomous spur that just hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some snakes in Africa where if you get bit by them, like you will literally, like your flesh will melt away.
Yeah, that's it. Oh. Yeah. And spiders, and that's scary stuff, man.
Oh, scary stuff.
I don't know.
I think that, though, getting back to the Smallfoot musical, I think that's an interesting sort of take, like being like, you know, we have these beliefs that keep us safe and all of these different things that we always do. So like if you question it, though,
that's right,
it leads to danger.
You know, and I think sometimes it's hard we get scared. I'm like talking to kids about stuff like that. You know, but like them watching Smallfoot is like way better than them like reading The Village, you know, which is a short story. or the lottery, like those are like, that's really, really scary, but it has the same sort of themes. But yeah, Smallfoot, fun musical. Didn't know Channing Tatum could sing. Good for him. And I would really recommend that one. It's good for adults and kids.
I'll have to check that out.
Good. No, we're always interested in Bigfoot things.
Yeah, anything related to Bigfoot or Smallfoot.
Yeah. I feel like there's been a very enlightening conversation that we've been having. Yeah.
Well, do you guys have any closing questions about platypuses? No. Or glass?
I think I'm gonna do some research and to see if they're actually alien creatures or not.
If you call me, if you want to talk about platypuses, because I'm available. Anytime. I
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And you could be available to maybe our audience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I have a blog site. It's not very good, but they can go to there to learn about glass if they want.
Blog? Okay, cool. Yeah. So you heard it here, folks. Check out Gabi Upstart's blog site and find out about all the interesting things that she likes to talk about.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us here, Gabi Upstart. We really appreciate your expertise on these various topics, and we hope that we've brought a little bit more knowledge to those people listening.
Yeah.
All right. Stay freaky, my sneeches.
Vaya con Dios. And now a word from our sponsor.
Hey everyone, Joe Newsense here from Total Newsense. And you know what? After a hard day of working out or swimming in a majestic lake, you know how you feel. You feel sticky, sweaty, and nasty. And your clothes, they smell. Some might even say they smell like a monster. Well, guess what? We've got the detergent for you. Laundry Nest Monster. That's right. The only soap currently available on the market that contains actual water from Loch Ness. Does that mean that it also, by therefore, also contains trace amounts of Loch Ness Monster? 100% it absolutely does. If you want to get stains or sweat stains out of your clothes, look no further than the Laundry Nest Monster. You can purchase it now on our website. Once you start using Laundry Nest Monster, your stink will be as hard to find as an actual Loch Ness Monster.